So, hello to my second visual presentation. Quick note, I have taken on board the criticism that my first video was a bit too lengthy and that I plagiarized Wikipedia too much. So I have made some changes here. So this is a visual presentation because, you know, it's Jesus. It was just Jesus's birthday, so a comprehensive history of Jesus and why he was an absolute lad. As we can see here, no, he's not the soy jack. He is, in fact, the Giga Chads. I'm pretty hot. So, Jesus Christ, an autobiography. So here's a few little tidbits about Jesus. He was born in 4 AD to an unwed child bride. He had 4 half brothers by Saint Joseph. Christ isn't actually his second name. Christ actually means anointed one, and it's sort of become more of a colloquialism. It kind of has merged in with his kind of name. But Jewish people back then normally only had one name, and they would just say son of, or where they're from. So his real second name was of Nazareth, and also his real name was actually Yeshua. And it, again, due to public records, he was probably not born in a stable and probably not born at Christmas time. Of course, the early Roman Catholic Church stole the tradition, as they so often do, from the pagans, which was originally to celebrate the winter solstice. And I heard this in year 8. So when he was born, King Herod did what many would call a pro-gamer move, in which he killed 14,000 newborns to try and kill Jesus. Because, yeah. Anyway, got baptized by his cousin, John the Baptist, and the prophet Isaiah is on record calling him kind of clapped. So now, onto Jesus's likes and dislikes. On his likes, he really liked his dad and his neighbors. He did also like tax collectors, which was it is a bit cringe, I won't lie. He quite liked wine and anarchy. He hung out with lots of prostitutes, and of course, as seen in the Garden of Gethsemane, he made sure to kiss all the homies goodnight. Now, onto his dislikes. He's a very forgiving guy, so he doesn't have many, but he doesn't really like sin that much, and you're not allowed to sell things in his dad's house either. He's pretty against governments for the most part, except for Caesar. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's. Again, a pro-tax stance, which personally I don't really agree with. It's a bit Tory for me. He doesn't like cocks, as in the animals, because Peter wasn't very nice to him and pretended they weren't friends when he was being tortured and killed. So that's a bit rude. And of course, another controversial one that people seem to misspell a lot. He actually does not like figs, not the gay slur, as in the Gospel of Mark. He sort of, he was feeling a bit hungry. He was hanging out with the boys, and so he went up to this fig tree, and then he got real pissed off when he saw that there was no figs in the fig tree. Like I would too if you're hungry. And so he cursed it, so it basically killed it, and the tree never grew figs again, which, again, kind of a lad move. So yeah, and all those people saying, oh, Jesus didn't like gay people. I mean, Jesus is historically pro-gay rights, as seen in the Garden of Gethsemane. where he had a nice little makeout session with Judas Iscariot. Though right after that happened, he was arrested and tortured, in which he later died. So I'm sure that a normal person would have a little bit of resentment for that. But as we see in the next slide, with his stand stats, his forgiveness is infinite. So as I can conclude from that, he is pro-gay people. Anyway, so we can see from his stats, he has sin, absolutely none. Absolute giga chad of him. Love, he did hit a few people with some pews when he was in that church one time, so I had to bump him down from an S tier to an A tier. Daddy issues, he didn't know his dad until he was about 33, so of course there are some issues there. Figs, he did get, it is hinted in the story that he has had figs before, so he only gets an E tier, but he's famously does not have many figs. And his power, well, we don't know. I mean, he can bring people back from the dead, and he can like make water into wine, which is pretty cool. But in other stories, he can like control weather and shit. So we don't really know the extent of his powers. So right now it's just a question mark. Maybe in the next chapter, Araki will fill us in a little bit. So some cool things Jesus did while he was alive. He was, as stated before, a bisexual icon. He did have a little makeout session in the Garden of Gethsemane with Judas, and as seen by the Leonardo da Vinci painting, he also knacked on with Mary Magdalene, again, the prostitutes. But of course, some people try to say Jesus was a bit of an incel because he died a virgin. No, he was more of a cel because he was voluntarily celibate, which makes him even more of a Giga Chad. He could have gotten mountains of poontang, but resisted. He brought his mate back from back to life once. Actually, he did it 3 times. He was a bit of a prick about it, though. He did take his time getting over there. It was either his girlfriend or his mum that wasn't very pleased with him, but he did bring him back to life in the end, so no harm, no foul. Cured a guy's acne, and he met a dragon in a cave. Now, controversial counter-arguments. Bad things Jesus did? Question mark. He had a thing for feet. So, during the Last Supper, Peter was like to him, no, you don't have to clean our feet. We can actually do that for you. But no, he insisted. And he went through all 12 of his of the lads, and just played around with their feet for a bit, which, not gonna lie, a bit cringe. He did beat up some poor sales employees just because they were trying to do their job and pay their bills, probably pay their taxes, which, you know, he was all for, just because it was in his dad's house. Bit uncalled for. He did throw a pew at them, which is a bit rude, not gonna lie. In the Gospel of Luke, it is said that he was not a vegetarian. He really liked fish, which means he hated animals. Of course, alcoholism comes up, prostitutes again. He promoted unhealthy eating habits, which, of course, he lived 2,000 years ago, so the morality of the time is very different. But it is quite problematic. He did not eat for 40 days and 40 nights in a desert, which seems unhealthy, and is promoting dangerous diet culture. Of course, then he fed, the numbers might be wrong, honestly, this is from the top of my head, it might have been 2,000 people, which is slightly less impressive, but he had about 5 pieces of bread and 2 fish, and somehow fed over 1,000 people, possibly 6,000. So the only conclusion I can come to is that he could probably solve world hunger but chooses not to. So, bit of a dick move, not gonna lie. Again, with the taxes, he was probably be a Tory. He went to hell for 3 days after he was crucified, which only bad people go to hell, so that's a bit of damning evidence against him. And of course, an important one, he is neither confirmed nor denied being on the Epstein flight logs, which is not good. So this is a little animation of what Jesus did to that poor salesman in the church, the Jewish church, when he was just trying to do his job and feed his wife and kids. And so, in conclusion, to conclude, with all the evidence I presented, it should lead us to deduce that Jesus was in fact a Chad. Not only a Chad, an absolute giga Chad, if I may say so myself. Any arguments to counter this is invalid because Jesus was simply being based and red-pilled. So thank you all for watching, especially you, Jezza. Happy birthday. I know I'm about a week late, or probably 6 months early, according to that one guy from year 8. But yeah, thank you. Good night.